awkward unmuting of things because we didn't have a map intro. I just realized. Normally I just like go to the intro and then we come back and talk about things, but all right. Here we are in a brand new best of 5. It is still the Ting Open, of course. This is Group D of the round of 16. It is the last possible group. The last 2 players will be decided for that round of 8, which comes out tomorrow. Of course, at the end of the stream today, we will be drawing the names live here on BaseTradeTV, so you guys can see who is fighting against whom. I don't know if it's whom or not, actually. I think it's who versus whom, maybe. Either way.
Who versus who?
English isn't okay. English is not that important right now, as we do get into these intros. English is never that important here on the channel. I barely speak it. In the bottom left side of the map, he has a barcode, but we've remedied that with a clan tag. It is going to be MVP's Ryung.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
Of course, it's just Nerchio. Again, Acer having disbanded now at this point. It is not as synonymous as, say, Acer Scarlet for me, but Acer Nerchio is still a pretty long-standing name in my list of StarCraft 2 players.
How long's your list?
This big. Alright, so
Where was that?
this is being played out on the North American server. It's worth noting that we did ask them if they wanted to swap, go EU, Korea back and forth on a coin flip, and they chose to stay on NA. So we will try and accommodate them a little bit. A bit of East Coast, Central Coast server swapping in between games, but for the most part, again, North America is the middle ground between Korea and Europe.
Yep.
So, with games being played out here for Ryung, again, I was talking to Patience this morning, and he said to me he thinks Ryung's going to take this. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not, relying on a Protoss to tell me how Terran and Zerg are going to play, but I was a little bit astonished when he was really confident. This wasn't just, a casual thing. He was very confident Ryung was going to get out over this group over either Nerchio or Polt. So, I mean, Ryung has looked... It's without question, Ryung has looked better in Legacy of the Void than he had at any point in HOTS. Being on MVP, training in that team house, I don't know, it did something for the boy.
It definitely did. Because he was okay at the beginning of Legacy of the Void before he really was on that team. Certainly before he was really training with them for a very long time. But it wasn't until recently, so it's got to be somewhat of that being in that household, being in that gaming environment that has made him so good. But can he take on Nerchio, and then afterwards can he take on
Rogue.
Rogue?
Yeah. So that's what's interesting to me, because I actually know Nerchio could probably take on Rogue, truth be told.
Okay.
I don't know that Ryung could, though.
I don't know what it is, but I would give it to Ryung, but only after I see his TVZ versus Nerchio. Can I say that for sure?
Yeah.
To have a better chance against Rogue, that is. Not necessarily that he would win against Rogue. Because we've seen Ryung's really good TVP. That's what got him into this whole tournament. His TVZ is still a little more up in the air. It's not super strong as far as I can remember. But most Terrans do not fear TVZ, even though Roach Ravager can be strong and Ultras can be very strong. It's more like they fear certain stages of the game. Usually we see Terrans doing okay against Zerg in all aspects.
Well,
I always open this up really odd.
So it's funny you bring that up in terms of watching what's going on. It's pretty safe to say both Ryung and Nerchio were watching the previous series, being that we didn't get a hold of them for vetoes until the stream delay had caught up. So both of them probably trying to get a bit of scouting information on who their would-be opponent is. Of course, TVZ. It'll be pretty clear if it ends up being another TVZ and another TVZ who's going to have strategies against who. But the funny thing is, I feel for Nerchio to keep an eye on what is potentially Polt, right? Again, this is assuming it's TVZ, not assuming that there was a loser here. It's the fact that Polt, there's not a lot to scout when watching Polt play. Ryung, however, has been prone to do a couple of funky things.
Yeah.
In fact, one game for almost, I'm actually not sure if it was the beta or the live release where he went Hyperflight Rotors. I mean, the guy does throw in the odd wonky build from time to time. So information on him is certainly going to be key for somebody like Rogue, who is potentially fighting him next.
That's true. Now, Ryung is doing something a little wonky, speaking of. So, he didn't go for any Hellions. which is a little odd because then he went for a Banshee, and usually it's Hellion Banshee, not just Banshee. But it is just going to be 2 Banshees. The stim has started up. He has a 3rd base on location already, so 3cc on Lairlac. It is these diagonal spawns. So I don't think actually the tank push would have been better. I do think the 3cc is going to be your best bet. I mean, Nerchio is going to have a lot of time to work with as well. So he went for Roaches first, but then does add the Spire.
Yeah, shout out, by the way, to... sorry, the name's already left the chat window. I can't scroll up. Forgot Nerchio was on Euronics Gaming. That's right. Joined not too long ago, and I don't know why I had forgotten that. So, the just Nerchio joke, still a joke, but... there you go. Credit to his team. There you have it.
It's got the big clan tag on NA. Duh.
Yeah, there we go. That's the blame. There we go. I'm shaking my fist. Okay, but 2 Banshees looking for some damage, and of course, you can sit outside the range of a Sport Crawler, as we see, sniping off a couple drones is nice. If these Banshees were both at full health, they probably could have taken on those Queens, but unfortunately, taking some shots means they're not going to have the option to. We also have a Spire on the way, and Nerchio actually throwing down that infestation pit really quick. Oh my.
Yeah, I'm still not certain where he's going to go with his main army composition, because he has both options available.
Right.
He doesn't have a Baneling Nest, so it would just be the Roaches as his main army, Lings to reinforce, and then we'll see what he does with the Infestors. If he does get Infestors, that is, or if he just goes straight to that Hive. Unfortunately, he doesn't want to show Hive to the Banshee. The Banshee's going to clean up real quick, like from these 9 Mutas. Well, Ryung did take on 13 drones. Pretty good.
Alright, so he scans and sees the infestation pit too. What's kind of cool is, like, first off, yes, 13 drones is awesome. But Nerchio did play this as a bit of a... what's the indecision? Like, the Hive starts up, but he goes for the armor to be safe on either direction. Starts up weapon upgrades now. This will benefit Queens. It'll help out the Roaches, Ravagers, sure. But this still feels like he's going to Ultras. Like, we're not going to have melee upgrades, sure, but Ultras don't really need damage upgrades. That's not what makes them so good. It's their armor.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen so much flip-flopping out at one time. We see this versus Protoss sometimes, where like they'll get up to a very good macro stage and have like an appropriate amount of drones and 4 bases, and they'll slap down all tech buildings at once. And the poor Protoss has like no idea what to respond to. They'll like you're down to the Spire. But against Terran, it's usually a little more linear, like 1 and then 1 and then 1, as opposed to all at once, like what Nerchio has done. Never deciding on the Mutas here that almost get combat shields. Very last second repair there from Ryung.
Yeah, good thing he did it too. That would have been a big upgrade to lose out on. But while this goes off, the Mutas are actually not trading out super well. You know, they're not getting anything too critical and starting to add to Marines. Looks like he will be able to threaten combat shields once again. I mean, for Nerchio, Ryung didn't come home, so he is bleeding out. But at the same time, because he didn't come home, he does have an attack on the other side of the map. Combat shields isn't done, but Stim certainly is. 1-1's already done. Sees those Roaches though, and he's going to back the hell away.
Yeah, I think that it was okay for Nerchio to lose his Mutas, because he is obviously depending more on the Roaches and the Ultralisk that he's about to get too. So losing the Mutas without losing them all at once was good enough. I mean, he took down a lot of Marines because they were coming out one at a time. Ryung was unable to bulk them out, otherwise this would have been no problem. Nerchio will fly away with still some of them in tow. 2 Ultralisk Caverns for safety.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a misclick out of Nerchio. Where's the other one even about main and over here? I mean, we have actually seen buildings put down preemptively in situations where players have been going really drop heavy and you've been bleeding out buildings, but this has not been the case for Ryung. So for Nerchio to do this feels definitely like a misclick, less of a safety move. Hopefully recognizes it, but either way, that second Ultra's Cavern is basically an Ultra. There you go.
Yeah, okay, so it does cancel it. Save some of those minerals and gas, and now has full Ultras on the way. Ryung is going to be going with the mass bio way of playing against Ultra.
Yeah.
Because he saw the infestation pit, he must have known a Hive was on the way, and it's been so long since he's seen that Ultras would inevitably be out. I'm a little surprised he at least hasn't thrown down a 4th CC. The fact that he's going for pure bio doesn't necessarily surprise me, although I don't think it's the best against Ultras. There's unfortunately not really a best answer right now.
What has Ryung seen? He's not actually seen the Hive finish, and he doesn't know that it's the Ultras timing. And let's be fair, this is really fast Ultras out of Nerchio. Not the 8-minute fastest ones we've ever seen, but still really fast Ultras nonetheless. And Marauders in this instance, if you can focus them down, if they don't have a flood of Lings and don't have a bunch of Roaches supporting them, you can actually cut down the Ultras. It takes forever, but it still happens.
Yeah.
The problem is, Nerchio does have support. He's got a fungal growth locked and loaded. He's going to have lots of roaches to buffer with these. So this is certainly going to be interesting. First fungal goes down, catches a lot of marauders, but the ultra's being focused down because Titan's plating's not done. Oh, Nerchio.
Oh, Jesus.
Timing on that was like 5 seconds too soon.
Yeah, it instantly loses like 3 or 4 ultras there. That's a pretty damn big deal. Now plating is done. There's the focus fire has to come in, but the focus fire is coming in, and the bio is doing enough. It's going to be able to take care of lings and roaches no problem. I think Ryung just won.
If Nerchio had waited like 5 seconds, this could have been a very different game. 2 ultras pop, but where are they? Running here from the mains, 1. Roaches, of course, have the firepower. You know, he did put weapon upgrades into this, but it's 1 ultra. The lings are actually, weirdly enough, more tanky than the ultra in this instance. They soak more hits, more bullets go their way. But looking to push up this ramp, Nerchio's slowly being beaten down. If there's transfuses to keep this ultra alive, 1 ultra's not so bad. But he's got to get 3 more out.
Yeah. He's going to lose his 4th base, it looks like. It's about to be targeted down. Ryung still has to be very careful.
Good deny, good save.
Yeah. The ultra is going to go down here, however. Chomp, chomp,
finally.
chomp.
That carcass just falls over, but new ones are about to spawn any second now. So spine cars being advanced on the front lines help a little bit, but the base does end up going down eventually. And for Nerchio, this was a pretty expensive loss. Not just in terms of the amount of ultras that have died so far, but this is dying to bio. You know, normally if ultras are dying, they're dying to ghosts, liberators, Thors, tanks, whatever, and you're like, okay, fine, that makes sense. But this is that situation where you're like, damn, I'm supposed to be like controlling this game. I've got ultras. They're the kings of ground. What's happening?
He's starting to take control again, and with ultras out and about with the help of infestors and now with chitinous plating, they'll give a lot of time, potentially, to replant that 4th base and maybe even a 5th. But this is now time for Ryung to go for drops everywhere and take advantage of the slow-moving army of Nerchio, which just sent a drop to the north. It doesn't do very much because the army is still there. But he has a 4th base up and ready to go. It's turned into a planetary. His anti-ultralisk choice is going to be Liberators.
One of the problems with this was Nerchio was trying to get Ravagers. That's what all the roaches are for. Corsair Biles don't require upgrades. That's why you don't need a lot of weapon upgrades into them. But, okay, ignores the medevac. But unfortunately, yeah, that's where Liberators fall a little bit flat. You put the Liberators up, 3 Ravager shots per Liberator. It can't move in time. Nerchio's still got a really damn good army.
Yeah. Nerchio is still in this game, but it looks so scary when he's laying down to 1 ultra.
We got a new sub you should totally shout out.
No, you should shut him out.
No, you should shut him. Okay, you want to do the first half? I'll do the second half then.
No, I'm gonna do the. I'll flip with you though. I'll do the last.
Do the first. You do the first word. I'll do the last 2 words.
Okay. Spank.
Me more. I don't think either of us wanted to say that name, but thank you so much for the 4-month resub. Okay, still coming down the middle of the map. Ultras, of course, they're not here for damage. They're just here to make sure that the Ravagers don't go down. And unfortunately, they do get targeted in the back. Nerchio, of course, getting caught in a couple different directions. It was a little bit poorly for him. Ultras kind of scramble to come back, protect those precious, precious Ravagers. Because the Ravagers really do bring the damage. Again, whether it's killing the Liberators, 60 damage a shot with each of these Corrosive Biles, or whether it's just the auto attack being long enough and hitting for 18 a shot. I mean, he lost so many Ravagers before the fight's even truly begun.
Yeah, Ryung's getting a lot of really nice positioning in this game. He's going to take a frontal fight here. The Liberators use siege up. I'm going to get a couple of shots on the Ultras, but he quickly stims away, which means the Ultras get out of the Liberation Zones. Does he have any follow-up Liberation Zones? No. He has 3 starports, but they weren't quite ready with their add-ons, so only 2 Liberators.
His army is heavily Marauder focused, though, and in Planetary Fortress with the Epic Cannon throws in a couple of extra shots, too, so the Ultras do go down, and Ryung is not trading this out too poorly. I mean, look at the army supplies. Yeah. We see so many times Ultras come into play, and it's like laughable. Marauders were nerfed. Literally halved their damage when it came to Legacy of the Void from what they had in Heart of the Swarm. Yet still, a very select amount of Terran players are still making this work. But again, a big part of this is Nerchio doesn't have the greatest support for the Ultras as is. Once those Infestors start coming out, once those Fungals start flying, you know, the strength of the Marauders is their mobility, not their damage.
Yeah, so it all depends on focus fire. First of all, you gotta make sure you're focus firing each ultra down, but also the lack of lings to get us around here. The roaches aren't really helping out too much, and the lack of fungals going down too. You can see that the ultras are still going down, even though it takes a bit longer.
He's starting to get really off of creep and gets away from the rest of his army. I mean, this is starting to be like danger zone for Nerchio. In fact, like almost game over type situation. 4th base he's relying on pretty heavily.
He's only able to rebuild a couple of Ultras at a time. He's trying to get a 5th base, but his 4th is under fire. A couple of Corruptors. Actually, the Corruptors would be really nice, not just for the Liberators and taking down the medevac counts, as these units are constantly stimming.
And you know what? We hadn't really talked about it because we're so focused on the Ultras, but like even 1 or 2 Broodlords would have been fantastic in some of these situations.
Oh, nice fungal.
But that is just
a little bit too late.
Yeah, a little too late. The Ultras go down. GG gets called, and Ryung. It's the first map in this best of 5. I gotta tell you, if all the games are gonna look like this, I'm already very excited to see how the rest are gonna play out. But there's a couple moments there where Nerchio, man, it's like the what ifs. I don't think Nerchio was at a point in that game where we were like, damn, he's got this in the bag, but like he almost did. Like that first engagement before Chitinous Plating, had that finished, that could have been very much Nerchio's game from the snowball point.
It's I was thinking about it during the game. It's funny, but when Ultras don't have Chitinous Plating, that's what it looked like in Heart of the Swarm. With how fast those Ultras went down.
Yeah.
That's why you saw them very rarely in Heart of the Swarm, too. Oh, they're there. But I think Ryung was given a bit of a gift in that.
It was a
Otherwise,
gift. It was a gift with a bow tie on it.
Yeah, Mass Marauder is still very hard to actually make work without Liberators. Okay.
Alright, well, Dusk Towers. I love this intro. It's the coolest one I'm most proud of. We'll see you guys in a sec. Alright, we are back. It is game number 2. Such a long game 1. Spawning in the bottom left. He's up 1 point currently in the series, playing for MVP. It is the Blue Terran, Ryung.
In the top right, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
So I will say that was really fun. If nothing else, like watching that back and forth, even though I think for me, as much as I've got some hometown love for Ryung, I am cheering for Nerchio a little bit in this series. And despite the losing, it was still cool seeing the tactics behind it, right? Like the thought of the Ravagers, because he knew Liberators would be a problem, having the Ultras out so quickly. There was a lot of things Nerchio did I really liked about that game. And then there were some that were not so good.
Yeah, well. Nerchio, biggest mistake certainly attacking before plating was done. He just probably looked, thought it was kind of close, and went in, but he probably also knows that was the biggest mistake, because otherwise he had a good position in that game. To actually get to Ultras as easily as he did, pretty easily, was something that is not usually granted in TVZ, and to have it happen again is actually up to Ryung not to let it happen again. But it is Dusk Towers, a very macro-oriented map, and I'm thinking that Nerchio is going to try a similar build. So whether he actually goes for that Roach into Muta, back into a lot of Roaches, or if he actually just sticks on Mutilating Bling, it's up to him. Pure Mutilating Bling does work a lot better on Dusk Towers, though, so kind of hope he does it.
So some debate going on in chat about something said regarding the Ultras and the Marauder interaction, and I'm not actually too sure what exactly was said that people are depicting, but I guess the point I was trying to make was the Marauders, of course, pretty much still have the same damage points that they used to. The key difference being that in Legacy of the Void, their attack was split into 2. And as a side note, their attack used to look really cool. Zombie and I had the pleasure and the privilege to see the original beta for Legacy of the Void at BlizzCon. And the Marauder attack was this, like, sidewinder missiles intertwining, leaving a trail of smoke. Like, it looked so freaking cool. And then for some reason, they got rid of it. But regardless, their attack was, of course, split into 2. So you might think, well, that's not that big of a deal. But it actually makes armor apply twice. So in terms of, like, whether it's literally half the damage or not, maybe my math is off. But I'm just stating the fact that Ultras have that big armor point, which is now applied twice instead of once. And that's why Marauders have so much less damage now than they ever did before.
Yeah, it was literally half that they're arguing about, but I knew what you were talking about, so I didn't really care enough to be like, now hold on a second, let's do the math right here. No, don't commentate the game. Stop.
Well, I mean, if you had done that, that would have been more in line with BaseTradeTV's style of comment wizardry than, yeah. But regardless, I actually want to go back to that point. I feel Blizzard did remove some really cool things throughout the course of the pre-beta to real beta to live launch, and small details like that Marauder, old things like the Hercs, like there were a lot of really, really fun, cool factors coming to Legacy of the Void that I'm really sad we never got to actually have live. And here we are, like a full year later almost type thing, and or is a year and a half since the beta, excuse me. But it's just, man, like it's so sad. It's almost like I wish I never knew about them. Then I wouldn't miss them.
Yeah. Did you know about warhounds?
Yeah, I've heard a thing or two about warhounds. I may
Did you
have
actually play with
won literally every game I played
Okay.
with them, except
There
when
you
the
go.
other opponent had warhounds as well.
Do you miss warhounds?
Well, you know, Zombie, they had the same role as a Marauder, so they didn't really fit StarCraft.
I hated their design. I mean, so people, the first thing people said is that it stole like Warhammer's design or whatever, and that I don't care as much about. But it looks stupid in my opinion. I also don't play Warhammer, so maybe I think all of Warhammer looks stupid.
So I know that they don't want to give Terran a melee unit because they feel it doesn't fit the design of Terran, right? Not that I'm quoting that from anybody. It's just like what I've heard.
Dude, the
from a couple
dog,
sources.
man. I
Okay,
would love to have.
First off, it's a cat. It's Predator. Please get it right. Saber-toothed tiger. Excuse you, but. That point aside, the argument made that like it doesn't fit Terran, and again, it's not an official source; it's just like what's been said to us, like behind the scenes and stuff. Really bothers me because there's so much stuff that they've done to Zerg that doesn't fit Zerg, like lurkers being rudimentary units that stay in place and deal tons of damage. That is so counterintuitive to everything mobile that's been Zerg. Same with Swarmhost. Same with like there's been a lot of things in this game that change the theme of the race, and it's been fine. So why can't Terran get a melee unit?
No,
it
Lurkers
doesn't
were
even
around
have
in Brood War. It's not just okay. So, it's not just the style, but would be knocking on the Lurker. You can knock on the Stormhost all you want. No one likes the Stormhost. It's fine. But I agree. Like I wouldn't mind. Like tanks aren't supposed to be picked up. That's I think the most obvious difference, right? Like they're not supposed to be picked up. They're supposed to be those stable units that stick in the ground, and they get picked up. And we think it's a great addition to the game. Screw you all that think differently. I don't care. Whatever.
There is
no,
this
to
is
have
one of
a
those
melee
things.
units, like oh god, no.
You know what? If they remove tank vax, but they give us a melee unit, even if it's a garbage melee unit, like it was worse than a Zergling and cost twice as much, I'd still be okay with that.
So the reason I said dog when I first thought of it, by the way, we have a game that's very passive, like
But-
regular macro build from Ryung.
Well-
Nerchio's getting up to that hive.
Right. So it's actually going to play out similar to that last game. Same goal, same strides.
Right. Yeah. No mutas this time, which did add a lot of time bought as Ryung had to deal with that. But he's doing like the same thing with double drops. But anyways, the reason I said dogs because I love dogs in Command and Conquer. Just they'd yelp and then they'd maul humans and they were awesome.
Well, we almost had him with Guardians of Brood War. Ruff, ruff.
Woof, woof, woof. So this level medevac drop in the last game, it just went to clear up creep because it was blocked out by Laralax rocks. Here it actually gets to the main base, and there's not too much to respond from Nerchio. It's a fairly small army.
Right, but Nerchio also doesn't. Like, there's not
Oh,
a lot
no.
at stake
Oh, that's
here.
perfect.
Okay, I take that back. This is actually something that becomes very expensive for Ryung and great for Nerchio because this almost seals the deal on him getting to passively get to ultras. Without further threat of those drops, there's nothing to stop him. And he might not even go for ultras. No, he's gonna go for ultras. I was gonna say he's going for adrenal glands right off the bat. I love this move. Makes things so much better against everything. And before Terran's on 3-3, the attack speed really does take a nice precedent. Like 2 thumbs up.
I really love that Nerchio was so greedy in this game that he got a 7-minute Ultralisk Cavern without any upgrades other than that Metablock boost. Like, Care was just finished. Like, his upgrade list was so...
Didn't they nerf
fair.
adrenal glands slightly? I thought they took it down a bit. Or is that in the balance proposed changes?
You know, I don't remember.
It still says 40%. I'm just having a bit of a brain fire which part I read as like a live change versus proposed change. By the way, shout out to David Kim and all the folks on the balance team who've been doing regular updates on things like their not that okay, here's a patch guys, but their thoughts on like pre-patch thoughts and balance testing, like that's probably the best thing that's happened to StarCraft 2 in a long time. And I'm loving that they're consistent with it. But okay, double drops. On the way to the third, might skid or pass, go straight to the natural. Either way, Nerchio does have to come back to respond to it.
Yeah, for sure. But this is it's not a bad game yet for Ryung, I shouldn't say that, but it's a very scary game. Nerchio got away with hella fast Ultralisk, and this time he's going to make sure to have plating before he pushes into an army. Ryung's army isn't even that big.
Oh.
Because of course it's divvied up, that's the reason, but...
So, we're about to have this game start going to constant action. Ideally, again, with Ultras coming out and all this other goodness. But before we do that, ooh, it's aggressive bile. Someone mentioning Terran needs a steamroller, going back over our Terran unit design stuff. What if you could, hear me out, like, You could modify siege tanks or something, right? Like the same way you can transform a Hellbat into a Hellion instead of siege tanks to siege mode. What if you could put one with like a barrier in front? Comes with like, you know, those cow catchers they have on trains, and they're actually just tanky units, like literally tanky units, not damage units.
You know, someone suggested a barrier maker as the new units, and like when they were like suggest the new units, and I actually thought it was really cool with how they thought it would work.
Too, yeah.
But this is a very large bio army now that it's been consolidated and teamed. Everyone's teaming up together. Friendship is magic, but ultras do have plating this time.
However, that focus fire though, jeez,
pretty good. The Funkles I thought were already out. I thought he had a couple.
He had
of
one.
infestors.
He had one infestor. He got picked off pretty quickly to start that fight. Corsair Gear's going to try and zone this out a little bit. Nerchio's got more infestors and more ultralists on the way, but it's worth noting he doesn't have pathogen glands, so he won't be able to make use of them right away. Unfortunately, that army, even if it's just one ultralist, you cannot ignore it. If you stand still and take 2 or 3 Kaiser Blade swipes, that's a lot of splash damage. Roaches don't really care if you're shooting them as long as the Ultra gets the hits, and vice versa too. Ultras don't care if you're shooting them as long as the Roaches get the hits. That's what makes this army hard to fight. But Ryung in and out, back and forth, constantly getting away from this. He's not exactly dominating Nerchio, but he's taking pretty good engagements and weeding out the really expensive units from his opponents.
Yeah. The high medevac count is really helping out as well as those, they're just barely not getting those last hits with their chompers or their corrosive vials or what have you, so Ryung actually able to pull back.
Usually chompers, and I'm thinking dentures. You know how they did that thing where they photoshopped human teeth on sharks?
Yes.
Someone should do that with Ultralisks.
Oh, God.
Okay, medevac drop going off to the side. Of course, there's another one up to the north, but truth be told, too, medevacs are not that scary. They're coming here with marauders, so buildings might go down, and that's what you really have to worry about.
Yeah, but 4 marauders take down buildings, 8 marines take down drones pretty quickly. Fungal does land, and so does Curse of Bile, so
nice.
Boom just gets a cancel. It was nicely cleaned up by Nerchio. Gets the Overlord. Was it worth it?
Good question.
And was it worth it? Because Nerchio got so fast to Hive, he also has pretty fast upgrades here. He's not so far behind on 3-3 as some other games have certainly been. So be considerate of that. So yeah, Liberators are on the way. It was Ryung's choice last game. He's really looking towards the late game as he gets 2 more command centers. Also, he's a little bit of Sim City, but they're not healthy enough, so City just loses 800 minerals. Whoopsie.
The Liberators are getting some pretty good shots off. As we can see, they're actually hitting the Ultralists, but the problem still remains that they got nothing to protect them from those corrosive biles, so all the Liberators pretty much go down immediately. A couple more remain.
Well.
The Planetary is actually dealing a ton of damage, and Nerchio, perhaps overstaying his welcome, does knock down a very expensive base from Ryung. But that cost him his entire army.
He does have a little bit of a remax here, so it's not the end of the world for either player. Ryung lost 800 minerals and unfinished command centers, and then a planetary, so that's a lot more. He can lift his orbitals, but that's never ideal. But Nerchio, he lost that army, so he lost, 800 minerals plus himself. And I think it might go better for Ryung, just because he still has the capability of dropping, and that's like always going to be a fear here for Nerchio. But
maybe. So Nerchio last game, we saw the Corruptors come out really late because the Spire was down really late. He had focused so much on getting that ground army up fast and first. This time around, he's actually going to have a couple Corruptors. Now, you mentioned this as a bit of an aside, and it wasn't too big of a deal at the time because Nerchio was doing a pretty good job of losing all the Ultras on the ground. But this time around, picking up those medevacs, a lot of these are one shot from dead. And Ryung, we talk about the Marauders a lot, but the emphasis still goes, you need medevacs to support those units. Marauders are absolute garbage units. Marines are garbage units if they don't have support for them.
It's true. The upgrades have finished up for Ryung. Nerchio's about to finish his Carapace upgrade at least. He did not get the opportunity to start his melee, as of course he had lost his army, and he had units over that melee upgrade. He actually scans the 6th would-be base. It's not there, so Ryung might be feeling pretty good. He is up in mining on a 4th, which is his main orbital.
Oh, one more hit. Corruptors, please. Trip. This is gonna be a tough hold for Nerchio, but I feel like if he holds this well, he'll come out of this looking fantastic. Because let's not forget, Ryung did have to move a base around, so he's not taking tons of bases as this goes on. Soaks some of the hits on the Ultra list, a little bit awkward, not sure why he's doing that, but decides to dive on in. Corruptor slowly taking away the Liberators, but the Liberators also taking away the Ultra list. So for Nerchio, bit of an awkward engagement. He still has a fight left in him, but he doesn't have support units. There's no Flood of Lings, there's no Marauders, Roaches, excuse me. So the Marauders have no problem just kiting this down, focus fire, and one more Ultralisk falls.
Yeah. His focus fire could be a little bit better, as he's attacking usually 2 ultras at once, but the point is the ultras are falling without any supports. Now Nerchio thinks it's a good time to get passion glands, but I don't see any infestors to utilize that quite yet. So we haven't seen them for the last couple of minutes, actually, and that's been one of the main problems. Corruptors are very, very slowly taking out the Liberators. They've already done so much damage as the Ultralisk run through their zones.
Feels like Nerchio's just starting to crack, and
Yes, he is.
unfortunately, you know, Passion Glands so late, no more infestors support, barely any lings coming in. Like, this has been a very... The dynamic of this, too, is if a Liberator wastes a shot on a Zergling, the cooldown there gives the Ultra a lot of free reign to get more damage done. But that wasn't happening. GG gets called, and Ryung will take a 2-0 lead in the series.
Yeah, he's looking very good against that late game army.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Of course, we are going to play Game 3 out, and whether this ends up being a 3-0 or a 2-1 comeback out of Nerchio, just note that after this game, we'll be taking a break one way or the other. So, again, just to help you guys schedule your breaks on the in-between. A couple things to note just while we get into this next game, and thank you, Zomgrid, for hosting all the matches today. Nice Username recently made a big post on Reddit, if you guys didn't see it, about our YouTube channel. Some of you might not know this, but I've relinquished control, as well as any money earned from our YouTube channel, to Nice Username. He's a great guy, and he's doing some good things, and he wants to make our YouTube look better than ever. So, if you have comments, criticisms, concerns... Sorry, Jack Attack, I think I just stole that. Make sure to hit up Nice Username, because we're starting to do things. He's starting to change things up. I was uploading VODs one game at a time. He's starting to upload them all best of 3 in one video. He's uploading full broadcasts. He's doing playlists. He's doing art assets. He's making our YouTube look better than ever. So if you guys don't know about it, youtube.com/BaseTradeTV. Go subscribe, check it out. It's a great way to catch games you miss. And of course, we are finally catching up. We were a month and a half behind in VODs. Now we're only 1 week behind in VODs. So shout out to Nice Username. But let's get into Prayon Terrace's map number 3. Alright, welcome back to the TING Open game number 3 in the second series of the day. This is, of course, Group D for the round of 16, and the last 2 players to make that round of 8 will be determined today. Of course, this tournament is brought to you guys by TING. $5,000 strong coming out of their pockets to give you some StarCraft 2. Thank you to TING. Put it in StarCraft 2 and not some other silly game. Of course, you can thank them by checking out bttv.ting.com. It also lets them know that you came from our channel and lets them know that you're looking to get $25 in credit signing up for their services. But for those who don't know, Ting is a U.S. and sadly U.S. only mobile phone service. Hopefully one day Canada. Fingers crossed. But Spawning in the bottom right, he is on his last life. We'll see if he can bring it back, as so many others have in this position. It is Euronics Gaming's Nerchio.
In the top left, as the red Terran, he is Ryung.
So Prion's a pretty good map for Zerg. Not because of the gold base dynamic, but just, again, they're able to take advantage of it earlier than most. And Nerchio is a player who can get aggressive. He used to really love getting aggressive. In fact, you would see him play coin flippy all-in all the time in Heart of the Swarm. So we'll see if he decides to maybe do that here. I have no idea how he plans to play, but this would be the map to come back on for certain.
I think this map's going to be another Roach Ravager map. Dusk Towers could have been Mutilating Bling, but he went for Roaches on that one too. Thanks to Eadway for re-subbing 14 months in a row.
Nice.
But I do kind of hope that Nerchio doesn't go for late game ultras again. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously mistakes going on here. Nerchio a bit of an overcommittal to that planetary after killing the command centers. Lost his army for it. Sometimes doesn't have that correct support of the ultras. He's not playing a perfect late game ultralisk style, but a lot of it is also because Ryung is not playing the usual standard way of Terrans. To actually see Bio taking down ultralisk is still not that common, at least in the foreigner events. Hey, Marines.
So they're Overlord hunting, and if they were to pick one off early on, that's actually really great for Ryung. And this is certainly a little bit weird because you do expect Reapers like 100% of the time. So they will and should be able to catch this Overlord. A little bit of dancing going around because Nerchio could still fly it away. But realizing now that it's so out of position, boom, that's going to be 100 minerals, potentially. There's Lings on the way.
Yeah. He could at least get the Marines for it.
I still think 3 Marines is actually worth an Overlord, to be honest. Plus kiting around whatever amount of Lings that you can.
Yeah, because that's the thing is that it's going to take down Lings too, unless Ryung's just not paying attention. This might have been worth it if Ryung was going, for instance, like for a follow-up Hellbat attack that had Marines and a medevac, and now you have
terrible.
4 less Marines. But
he was focused at home macroing, like, and that's a fair point. But that was terrible. One circling. But okay, sorry. That Terran bias shining through right there pretty badly, guys.
Right? Dear God.
I know,
Okay,
it's just we watched Polt stutter step perfectly and lose no Marines earlier.
We are back on East, so maybe that's something to do with it.
That's true, but we saw him putting on the starport in the tech lab, so I'm pretty sure he's just not paying attention. Busting through, though, Nerchio is going to be keeping to dedicate to this. So Bailey Nest finishes up in a moment. He's a little supply blocked at the moment, otherwise we'd see more Lings being made, surely. And Ryung, he was going for a siege tank. Siege tank and a medevac, maybe that's kind of cool, maybe it's not, but the thing is, he's going to have to get a lot of shots off, and a lot of Lings, and a lot of Banlings to stop this from killing him.
Yes, yeah. Now, oddly enough, if he had gone for Hellions, this would be an easier hold. The tank could get surrounded without a medevac to help him out. Oh, medevac's on the way. So the medevac should be able to keep the tank alive. The tank should never die. But the question is, can it deal enough damage to the Banelings? But it's going to be able to see it in transit. Oh, no, does it? Oh, no.
Okay, well, this is really bad. Congratulations, Ryung. You're going to kill a couple drones on the other side of the map. But by the way, P.S., you're dead.
Oh, no.
So
oh dear.
Bust through. It's not a problem. All these SCVs are pretty much forfeit. There's not enough Banelings to bust through yet. He's got to get them all here and consolidated. But yeah, this is looking pretty good for Nerchio. Great start here to start.
He's not gonna be able to break the wall now with the tank coming back.
That's true, but just simply denying a natural is more than enough to get him ahead in this game.
We'll see. 18 SCVs is nice, and he has his own third base that's also a gold, mind you. But Ryung's on 3cc, and he, was trying to get the double upgrades anyways, but at least a +1. The counterattack potential of stimmed units with a single medevac is still pretty big, and Nerchio will probably try and get to a lair next to get to that spire to make sure that drops. Don't let Ryung come back into this game.
This spread's kind of cute. Wow, those corpses went flying! Jesus! It goes to the top of the ramp, but I'm not sure to what avail he's hoping to get from this. There's no way through. Just kind of hoping, I think, that maybe Ryung had left the doors down temporarily.
Yeah.
Does go back home. But yeah, double gold bases. Ryung might have 3 CCs, but none of them are mining currently. So, excuse me, the main is mining. But for Nerchio, this ended up being a pretty good attack. I mean, as we see, the second Ryung had to lift, he started falling way behind.
Yeah. But Terrans have a lot of comeback potential in situations like this. It's when they go below like 15 SCVs or something like that they are basically they should have tapped out kind of deal. With Ryung still above 20 SCVs, he doesn't have to tap out, but he might have to depending on how he follows this up. Like if his drop gets absolutely denied, for instance, maybe that's a reason enough. His third base is going to try and actually... I'm actually going to stay at home for now. That's fine if he's building SCVs off of it, because, what's use is a third base on a regular base if you don't have a lot of SCVs to throw at it. But the fact that he's not going for extra SCVs, this is something that Ryung did in Heart of the Swarm that I felt really odd.
I'm just kind of... Ryung was like Mr. 111 at heart, right? So you're like, what is a natural base? I don't know.
Kind of, yeah. Like he did this thing where he would go for a third CC as if it was a 3cc macro build, and then stop producing SCVs. Yeah, I never used it, and it was really odd all in that only worked once, I think. This isn't really that, but it's just kind of it looks like it because he did stop producing SCVs. He's just going for a full all in. Right,
and I think that's where Nerchio can feel a bit of a mistake. Like he saw the third CC and assumed recovery. Now, he does come in with a nice surround on this army, but Ryung's still got a pretty big supply lead in general when it comes to army units.
Oh yeah, those Marines.
Please, God, no, don't touch me. This actually is me haunting and daunting nightmares when I was doing the campaign for Brood War, and the infested Terrans deal 500 damage. I was like, what the fuck?
I could see why Ryung did that, just pure counterattack, but the way that he did it, it didn't really abuse the position. He was easily surrounded on all fronts, and he still isn't putting more SCVs.
But that's the thing, Nerchio's still not in the clear yet.
He's not.
He's managed to chase off that first wave, and that's cool, but as you point out, again, still not producing SCVs. There's less than a handful of Banelings on the map, and even though mutas are Nerchio's goal here, let's not forget the Marines that got combat shots, got stim. They're good to go for a fight.
That was actually missing from the first fight, and that was also a big play in you know, how fast those Marines went down specifically. So now that it's done, we can do something. Liberators rallying forward too, as Nerchio's first mutas are probably going to be used on the defense. This is going to be very helpful. One was about to finish up for Nerchio, however. Ryung actually canceled his +1. Didn't notice that.
Ooh, Nerchio's also at a larva right now. He's got so much money, but he can't spend any of it.
Only 2 banelings. That's really not that scary.
As long as the tank isn't actually in the fight, I feel like Nerchio's got a fighting shot, but it's so close to dead. Not quite there. Scans the top of the ramp, making sure there's no banelings to walk into. Comes on in for the kill move. Mutas are out. Drone's getting pulled. He's going for it. This is do or die for Nerchio as he is on his last life, and it looks like...
There's Liberators.
You know what? Actually, with the tank going down. With the tank going down.
I think Nerchio's got this. It was very, very close.
Like, this GG, I was going to say, Nerchio, we looked at the income graph right before that fight began, and this has been such a Nerchio game for the last few minutes, so Ryung really had to do or die there. But congratulations to Nerchio. He's going to bring it back 1 point, not go down just yet. We are going to take this time to give the players a bit of a breather, give ourselves a bit of a breather, as we have, again, 5 best of 5s in total we're casting today, and go to a small word from our sponsor. We'll just play the silly ad, actually. I love this ad. This has got Jesse in it. If you guys have ever wondered what Jesse in chat looks like, he's the guy in the red shirt in this ad. So we'll see you guys here in a minute or two.
Thanks for calling TING. This is Isabel speaking. How can I help you? Hello? Thanks for calling TING. This is Isabel speaking. How can I... Hey, this is Isabel at TING. For service in English, press 1. Para el servicio en español, presione 2. To talk about phones, press 1. To talk about something else, press 2. To speak to an operator, press 0. Please hold while we direct your call to the first available agent. Your time is important to us. Thank you for your patience. Ba ba da ba ba da ba da ba ba da ba da ba da ba da ba ba da ba ba da ba da ba. Thanks for calling TING. This is Isabel speaking. How can I help you?
Oh wow, that was quick.
In the top left, as the blue Terran, he is Ryung. Yeah, excuse you. Jeez. When did he shake his butt? Good hello. Very excited for that. Like, that actually was what we looked like. Yeah. Get my hat. I'm gonna get 4 names. It's gonna be awesome. Yep, that's true. That all happens. That's correct. Heyo. Wait a minute. You mean that his name is not Uthermal? Shh. No need to. Shots fired. Hmm. Yeah, not too big of an issue here, but you're right. The same abusive spot can be used for either player, just about who is aggressive first. Now, what's scary is that Ryung should be going for a tank here, because why wouldn't you on this map? And that when he does deal with the roaches, and inevitably he should be able to,
yeah,
then he'll have a counterattack.
Okay, hi fam. I did it. It's been, you know what?
Oh, you're muted!
It's been a day or two, so it makes sense. All I was saying was Nerchio going for roaches over drops. Cool, I called it, but once again, no one saw or heard. Also, Ting Jesse does not deserve an Oscar. I was going to say, at most, it's supporting actor because it was Isabel who rocked that commercial, all right? Jesse was just there shaking his little tuchus, singing a tune. But okay, this bunker now under attack. Goes down pretty quick.
Whoa.
Oh my, that's
Careful,
really
tank.
bad.
I
Nerchio,
really like, though, that he's
doesn't-
using it unsieged.
Yeah, but he doesn't pounce on the tank.
Yeah, the medevac was able to come out, so it's possible he would have been able to kill it, but then just lost his roaches to the marine fire, and I don't know. It was going to be enough units for Ryung not to end the game, but for Nerchio to get 7 workers and still get away with a couple of his units, it's not so bad.
I think I just figured out the mute link here. Last time it was when TLO came and hosted the channel too, and he was the one who called me on Skype to tell me, I'm starting to think it's every time TLO tunes in, something happens with my mute and the microphone. But also because we didn't get that on stream either. Thank you TLO for the host, and for anyone tuning in, you're watching the second group of the day, or second match of the day. They set the losers, the winners, and the finals, and then we draw the hats for the round of 8 on stream.
Right, yes. We talked about that too. But there is the counterattack I was talking about. Not a very strong counterattack, because he just brought whatever he had, basically, but the power was really ever going to be in that tank. Nerchio, though, taking advantage of clearing up the Marines, is going to try and attack himself again. Well, attack again himself. English. Get a lair on the way into third base.
I mean, it's been really scrappy, and Ryung's SCV count has been kept somewhat low through this, but that might not be such a bad thing. Again, just taking, for example, Ryung, not someone who needs that third CC or builds a lot of SCVs, might just be going ham off 2 bases here. Yeah, the worst part about being muted, by the way, is dealing with the next 3 minutes when people
Right?
are still on the stream delay of you being muted. You're like, oh, well, gosh, I didn't notice, but now that you mentioned it 500 times in chat, thank you. Ugh. At this point, I should make a mic muted emote. We've never needed, I don't know what it is, 2.5 years of doing this, never have I ever. This is so bad. I feel so bad. It's always during Ting events, too.
What?
Jesse, wow, the shot's fired. Maybe his power went out again. What the?
Understand.
Dropping this sponsor like a bad habit.
Oh, did you hear what everyone was saying about yesterday's cast?
No, but I know that I'm gonna get rid of Ting on the overlay. Boom.
Can you guess what everyone was saying yesterday?
I don't know. Something about being a vampire.
No, that you were muted, and that's why I was casting like I was. I thought it was pretty funny. I rolled with it.
I hate you. Were you tossing questions out to me like, well, Rifkin, I don't know. What do you think about this build?
I should have. I just said that I predicted the mute, you know, so that's why I had no problem covering for you.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, too bad you didn't do it today. Where were those skills today, girl?
I don't know. I'm too tired. Took all my power yesterday.
So, Spire on the way for Nerchio. The Roach Ravager opening obviously didn't work out to its fullest extent here. Ooh, that actually got a Roach kill, which is nice. Didn't work out to its fullest extent, didn't win the game, didn't all in, didn't devastate, but it did keep Nerchio having Ryung stuck in on 2 bases. He never reached out for the third. This is good and bad. Look at the army supplies. This is why it's bad for Nerchio. That money, saving up for mutas, is going to make up that army supply. But it might not come in time. That's what makes this so scary for him.
Oh, they missed all those shots fired. That's what happened. Damn it.
What?
They missed all the shots fired about, like, you know, the draws and geothermal. That's why they were so confused.
It's like, I guess that would sound funny. You're just like randomly saying players' names. You're like, what?
Yeah. Okay, so you brought up that Ryung had quite a supply lead. Nerchio started to get that up as he his economy has finally gotten to a good point, but he's just actually going to tap out. So very abrupt. Realized he would not be able to deal with the tank push. So.
All right, so this does make a very interesting losers match. Bit of an IEM rematch, if you will. Pult versus Nerchio. That was the... Actually, I don't remember which round that was. I'm going to have to go look that up. But, okay, either way, Nerchio and Pult have... that was the one I remember I was kind of sick in this haze watching it. I think it was the semifinals. That was the one I managed to watch, and I wanted to watch Snoot versus Hydra and fell asleep again because I was sick and just chugging NyQuil like it was crazy candy. So, okay, this means we're going to be going to the losers match first, as we always do. So we're going to actually have Pult versus Nerchio coming up. So we'll stay on the North American server. We'll see how they want to do flops and flips and whatnot. East Coast, Central Coast, you name it. Actually, East Coast is period. East, because Nerchio and Pult, East. All East. Pult is East Coast. We could actually probably force... Actually, you know what... We could force a swap of back and forth on this one, though, because this isn't the middle ground anymore. Like, Pult in Korea, you could argue that's the middle ground because it's East Coast. This one's actually, like, 2 neighboring states. We should probably do EU, East, EU, East, EU, East, to be honest.
Okay.
But, okay, while Zomgrab sorts that out, I'll update the overlay here. Of course, the winners match will just both be on Korea, so that'll be plain, simple, and easy.